While Tesla audio systems may be pretty decent, they lack low end. And today we're changing that on this Intel-based Tesla Model 3 with our SUB10 trunk sub. Welcome back, Dylan here. You've seen us install our Alpha 1 SUB10 trunk sub in a bunch of different vehicles before, and now we're adding one more to the list, this Intel-based Tesla Model 3. Now we're going to keep this as more of just an installation video, so for all the full specs and details about the Alpha 1 SUB10 trunk sub, go check out our other videos on that linked in the description. But let's go over some of the basics. This easy DIY plug-and-play sub, designed by our award-winning car audio competition specialist, is optimized for lightning-fast and deep bass response, and DSP tuned for the Alpha 1 amplifier and the acoustics of Teslas. Proudly developed and manufactured in Poland, this sub not only sounds great, but it boasts an aesthetic industrial design crafted from premium materials. The enclosure features a 900-watt RMS single-channel Alpha 1 monoblock amplifier that powers the 300-watt RMS 10-inch driver. While we're showing you this installation on our Intel-based Model 3, the installation principles are the same if you have a later model Highland-based Model 3. You'll just get a longer cable set with your kit due to the amp being in a different location. It is important to note that currently we are only offering our Alpha 1 SUB10 trunk sub to our current and future Alpha 1 amp owners. So if you don't have an Alpha 1 amp for your Tesla Model 3, head on over to our site, enter your VIN to get the right kit for your ride. This Intel-based Tesla Model 3 has had our amp for a while, so if you want to see how it's installed, you can go find that full installation video on our channel. Now, it is important to note that if you have had this amp in your vehicle for a while, meaning you didn't get the amp and the SUB10 at the same time, you are going to want to get your amp retuned to take full advantage of what the SUB10 has to offer, and of course, these retunes come at no cost to you. This kit comes with all of the cables and hardware that you need, and if you choose to do the installation yourself, you might want to pick up our DIY Essentials Kit and Trim Tool Kit that will have all of the tools you need and more to make the installation a breeze. Of course, if you don't want to do this install yourself, you can find one of our certified installers near you. We have them in about 30 countries around the world. Don't forget that if you're in the Orlando, Florida area, well then stop on by and we can do it for you. Now again, this installation is based on our Intel-based Tesla Model 3, but the principles are going to be the same if you have a later model Highland Ryzen-based Model 3. The only difference is going to be the length of the cables you get and where you decide to mount the SUB10 trunk sub, but of course where you decide that could be different in any vehicle. But with all that out of the way, let's get to the installation. Jarrett, take it away. Before dealing with anything electronic, we need to make sure we disconnect the low voltage system. First, make sure your trunk is open so you can access that area. Now let's cut to our video on how to disconnect the low voltage system. First, start by opening all of the doors and lower the windows. This will ensure you don't lock yourself out of your car. If you want, you could tie a towel around the door latch on the body of the car to prevent the door from closing. On the touchscreen, power off the climate control system and wait at least 30 seconds for the climate control system to completely shut down. Next, open the frunk. On the touchscreen, touch Controls, Safety, Power Off. Grab onto this panel and pull. The fasteners will pop free. Locate the 12-volt battery and with a 10mm socket, remove the negative battery terminal and set it aside. Do not close the frunk. If required, disconnect your fireman's loop after you disconnect the battery terminal. The last part is in the back seat. Head to the seat and push forward on the disconnect lever to lift one side of the seat up. Here's a close-up of what this looks like. Do this on both sides. On the passenger side, remove this foam insulator and locate this connector here. Press the center gray tab aside, and the gray latch will rotate and disconnect. Set this aside and the low voltage system will officially be disconnected. Back in the trunk, remove the floor panel. Next, remove the rear trim by pulling it off like so. If any of the metal clips stay behind, remove them from the car and place them back inside the trim, if you can find them. To remove the lower trim panel, remove these two fasteners with the trim tool and then lift the panel up and out to remove it. For this top trim, use a trim tool to pop the middle section of the fasteners halfway, then pop them off from the base. Remove the trim. We'll now need to pull the side panel back to reveal the Alpha 1 amp. Grab it like so and pull it free. Pull this connector free, and then carefully bend the panel out of the way. You can remove this panel completely if you want, but this will give you a couple less steps. The last trim we need to remove is the side bolster. Grab it from the top and pull it free. If the main clip stays behind, pop it free and reinsert it into the bolster for reinstallation later. Now we can start running cables. Grab the included RCA cable and plug that into the Alpha 1 amp. Do the same with the REM and out cable on the other side. Jared found it easier to unplug the amp's power connector to get a bit more room. Grab the RCA and REM and out cables and use cable ties to secure them to this main harness. Keep them as far away from the power cable as you can to avoid any potential signal issues. After securing them close to the top of the wheel well, feed the end of the cables through to the back passenger seat area. Pull all of the slack through. Use any final cable ties you need to secure what's left at the back of the car. Once that's done, plug the connector back in and push the side panel back in place, making sure the weather stripping is over it. Back up front, secure the RCA cable slack down to the rear seat. The REM and out cable should be just the right length to reach the back of the trunk area. While you're here, grab the SUB10's power cables and feed the connector under and behind the rear seat like so, which should be popped free already since you had to disconnect the battery. Do the same with the RCA cable, matching the length of the power cables. You can use a cable tie to keep them secure once you reach the length that you want. Now let's attach the power and ground. With a 13mm socket, remove this nut on this grounding location. Slide the ring terminal of the SUB10's ground cable over the stud and tighten the nut back down. Remove the 13mm nut on the power terminal and slide the ring terminal of the SUB10's power cable over the stud and tighten that nut back down as well. Coil up all of the slack for the ground and positive cables as well as the RCA cable and secure them as you see fit with cable ties. Just make sure the seat has enough room to snap back down. Now it's time to install the SUB10 itself. You can place some Velcro on the bottom to stop it from sliding around, but also allow it to be removable. For ours, we opted to skip that. Back in the trunk, place the SUB10 inside and begin plugging it in. Power, REM in out, and the RCA cable. Place the sub where you want it to be, and make any final adjustments to the cables, securing them together, coiling up slack, and so on. At this point, we're ready to start the final reassembly, as well as reconnecting the low voltage system. Since we're right here, go ahead and reconnect this connector. Snap the seat back down. Snap the side bolster back in place. Put the lower trunk floor panel back in place and replace the fasteners. Snap the rear trim in place and make sure the weather stripping is over it. Drop the floor panel back in place. Finally, snap the upper trim back in place and reinstall the fasteners, making sure the center pin is popped up to the middle position so you can insert it, and once in place, push the center pin in to lock it. Let's cut back to the clips on reconnecting the low voltage system, and you'll be done. At this point, if you have disconnected it, reconnect your fireman's loop before reconnecting the battery. Reconnect the negative battery terminal with a 10mm socket. Line up the cover panel and press down to lock it into place. To finish up, close the frunk, close the doors, and roll up the windows. And that is how you install an Alpha 1 Sub10 trunk sub in your Tesla Model 3 with an Alpha 1 amp. Want one of these for your Tesla Model 3? First, make sure you have or are planning on getting an Alpha 1 amp, then head on over to our site, enter your VIN, and get the right kit for your ride. Have any more questions about the Alpha 1 Sub10 trunk sub? You can reach out to our sales team via chat on our site or by calling. Already have this and have any questions about the install or anything else? Reach out to our support team with your order number and they will be eager to assist. But as always, for more tips and tricks, product reviews, and so much more for Teslas, BMWs, Minis, and Supras, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to ring that bell. Want to know what's happening first? Head on over to our site and sign up for our newsletter. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Thanks for watching.